Welcome to the Authority File, the podcast that features conversations about the life cycle of scholarly communication. I'm Bill Mickey, your host and the editorial director at Choice, a publishing division of the Association of College and Research Libraries. If I asked you to tell me what you think powers today's AI tools and LLMs, I bet your first guess would be computer science. And you'd be right, of course, but another discipline that's not typically thought of is mathematics. Math has played a huge role in the development of AI and still does. In this four-part series, generously underwritten by Springer Nature, I'm joined by two guests who will guide us through the mathematical foundations of and research connections with AI, and how the technology is intersecting with teaching, learning, and publishing. With me on the program are Elizabeth Lowe, Executive Editor of Mathematics, and Christopher Tomanich, Senior Editor of Mathematics, both from Springer Nature. In this final episode of this month's series, we look at how AI is impacting mathematical research workflows. We also have a thoughtful discussion around whether AI in the context of teaching and learning mathematics is comparable to the introduction of the calculator. Okay, so let's get back to sort of your publishing perspective here. How is AI starting to affect the way mathematical research is written, reviewed, and evaluated?
So, I mean, for me, from my personal experience, in the past year, I've definitely seen a significant increase in the number of mathematicians who are relying on AI to review manuscripts.
Hmm.
So, before we publish anything, it has to go through a peer review process where we contact experts in that area and say, "Oh, can you just read through this? Give me your opinion. You know, should anything be improved? Should it be added? Questions like that." And like
Are
over the
they
past few months, I'm sorry.
no? Are researchers using AI as like a peer review process, or are they reviewing their manuscripts simply for like grammatical
Oh
polishing,
no, so
or
when
both?
I am contacting people to review it, they'll say yes. But
Mm.
then when I get a review back from them, it's very clearly that an AI wrote it because there's a
Oh,
very um, formulaic style that
yeah.
most of the AI models will output, and so it's very difficult for me when I'm contacting someone who's an expert because I want their opinion, and instead they're giving me a consensus opinion from an AI tool.
Oh, wow.
So, and that's not it's not necessarily a bad thing. So, a good use of AI, is for polishing your writing. Also, if you prefer to write in your native language and then
Hmm.
have it translated into English, it's a great tool, and it's great that we have that, a resource for people. On the other hand, even if we haven't published something yet, and what an author wrote, their manuscript, it's still copyright in the author's name. It doesn't have to be officially said anywhere. So if you take it, upload it to an AI without the author's permission, you are, feeding it into, this massive, you know, vault of data that the AI can then draw on in the future. And it
Yeah,
could, in theory, reproduce parts of that manuscript in, a response it gives, and there'll be no credit given to the author.
that's
So,
incredible. I can't,
Mhm, mhm.
in this day and age, I can't believe that that's being done. I mean, I can and I can't, but, oh,
yeah. And it's, so navigating these situations is, it's very new for me, and it can be awkward because
yeah.
you don't want to, like, accuse somebody of
Hmm.
doing this, but at the same time I do need to know.
Have
So
has
that's
has Springer set up guidelines and policies around some of this, where at least you have something to point to that says, these types of things cannot, or we don't recommend doing these things.
So yes, we do have
Yeah.
peer review policies that include if you are going to use the AI, do not upload anything to
Hmm.
it. Uploading manuscripts to it, and also you need to disclose to us that you did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, like I was saying, perfectly legitimate use is translating into English your review.
Hmm.
So as long as you tell us, that helps. But like I said, it's a very new policy, so I don't think a lot of researchers and reviewers are fully aware of it yet.
Right. Right. All right. So like since the release of ChatGPT in 2022, AI advocates have compared Gen AI tools to the release of the calculator. While initially resisted by educators for impairing arithmetic skills, it became an essential tool for math students and the public. So it's kind of a weird comparison, but from this perspective, how true or false does that comparison feel with AI? When does generative AI go from a useful tool to a shortcut that impedes critical thinking and/or problem solving?
That's a very interesting comparison, one I wouldn't have thought of. Um, I can see how that could be true with AI. So calculators definitely made the ability to do calculations by hand or like in your head like much less important. So then students were able to focus more on setting up a problem and
Right.
knowing how to solve it. So they were still developing their math skills, even though what many people consider to be the foundation of that was being taken up by the calculator. So, you know, AI can take that a step further, and you can, go to an AI and just say, "Show me how to solve this problem," and it'll give you like step by step breakdown with the answer. So, in that sense, I'm not sure that it will be as well received as the calculator is over
Right.
time.
Yeah.
Um, on the other hand, and I was saying this before, with the focus of a math education being, developing the ability to think mathematically, that's not something an AI can ever replace.
Mhm.
So back to the original comparison, I think like half and half.
Okay.
It can replace even more of the computational part, but it's never going to replace um, development of your own like mathematical maturity and knowledge.
Yeah, I would imagine some of that onus of that development is on the instructor, right? Like they
Exactly.
need to find ways to emphasize that and make that a human-centered kind of process.
Right.
Yeah.
And just like when you take a test, though, no calculators allowed. I mean, you same
Right.
same principle of no AI allowed on
No
your
AI allowed.
test.
Right, right. Awesome. I mean, so now let's take a kind of look at the future, maybe 5 or 10 years out. How do you expect the relationship between mathematics and AI to evolve, even from where we're at today? And what should students, faculty, and librarians be paying attention to?
Thank you. So I think it's at least safe to say that the future of AI and mathematics will continue to evolve together.
Yeah.
Mathematics is fundamental to AI. I'm sure you've gotten that picture. And so math and AI will become even more deeply intertwined.
Hmm.
It will continue to underpin AI theory and its architecture. So we like this. AI is the accelerant in mathematical discovery and education, but cannot replace rigor. And we said it many times, it will not replace intuition. Okay.
Right. Hmm.
Those LLMs are only one family of AI models, which I think I mentioned before,
Hmm.
in a much larger ecosystem. And it'll be more interesting to see what evolves in this ecosystem and which areas of mathematics will contribute to those developments. I would definitely encourage paying attention to evolution. And separate then from AI mathematics relationship, librarians, I would think, will be well positioned to act as stewards of AI,
Mhm.
curating reliable tools, guiding ethical usage, supporting reproducibility, that's a big one, and
Mhm.
helping students navigate the rapidly moving scholarly landscape. So getting back to the reproducibility part, reproducibility depends on well organized, stored, documented, and accessible research resources. Who better than a librarian to curate and manage those resources? Another thing I thought, librarians, I could see them providing structured information sessions in these directions. Maybe in the sessions, even include some examples for some of the more amusingly labeled AI failures that are out there, like hallucinations,
Mhm.
which is content distortion, and tortured phrases, which is language distortion. And then from the faculty side, increasing use of AI to do calculations will force the strengthening of students' conceptual skills, like we said. Okay, and where applicable, instructors and faculty would do well to demonstrate how to critically evaluate AI generated output.
Mm.
Okay, so I think the faculty and instructors are better poised to do that than a librarian, where they're stewarding, that. And so essentially, AI will become collaborative, like it is now, but even more so. Just like, I don't know, like lab equipment is to chemistry students. Something like
Right. That's a good analogy. All right. Excellent. Well, Elizabeth and Chris, that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you too.
Yeah, thank you.
It's fun.
You just heard from Elizabeth Lowe, Executive Editor of Mathematics, and Christopher Tominich, Senior Editor of Mathematics, both from Springer Nature. The Authority File podcast is brought to you every week by Choice and produced and edited by digital media producer Sabrina Kofer. Underwriting opportunities are directed by Melissa Carr and Ryan King. For more information about underwriting opportunities, download the Choice Media Kit at choice360.org. That's all for this week. Thanks for joining us.